Welcome back, dear devotees. You would be very happy to know that Mandukya Upanishad, which is amongst the four Vedas from the an Upanishad with only 12 mantras, and the whole world is literally rotating around. In Bengali, amongst the chilies, there is one chili which is a tiny one, and those of you who've been to Bengal or Bengali, you would know it's called Dhani Lanka. Dhani Lanka, very tiny one, literally tiny. It is something like about 1 centimeter. But it's so spicy. I didn't know. Once I was that time doing little research on chilies, and I was told it is hot. So I took a slice. You'd be surprised. I took with a knife a tiny slice circular round. And I ate it, and oh my God, it was for the next half an hour. I had to eat so much of sugar and sweets to get it out. It's Mandukya Upanishad is like that. Today we're going to take on a very special subject, which we have been talking again and again and again, but we'll go more in depth in the 1 or 2 or 3 lectures it might take on our sharing of the wisdom and the knowledge. And as we say, it is a sharing of the knowledge. It is just the Divine Mother, gods, and the Gurus with their blessing. They will be talking through us. They will be receiving through us. And wonderful message in that Upanishad. In the 8th and the 9th verse, it goes and says that if you and I have done very good karma, tremendous karma, then you will be leading a very good life. And if you've done even better than that karma, then you will be coming into Vedanta in your life. Somebody will talk to us at Vedanta, somebody will discuss with us, somebody will make us read Vedanta, understand, discuss amongst ourselves, or delve into it on a Sunday like beautiful sunny day like this. So you and I are truly blessed one. So with that note, let us start with our prayers. Asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jagat Janani, Divine Mother of the Universe, hold our hand and take us from unreal to real, from ignorance, darkness of ignorance to light of wisdom. Take us from death to immortality. What we fear so much of the death and death and death, and suddenly realize that his death is only of the body, but you and I are immortal and remain immortal. Request a very special prayer to our Guru Devas, Paramahansa Yogananda, Yukteswar Giri Lahiri Mahasaya, Swami Sri Vivekananda, Holy Mother Sharada, Paramahansa Ramakrishna. Our prayers goes to Jagat Gurus, the Lord Shiva, who is the husband of Uma, and the Mother Kali is dancing on that Shiva. With this spectrum, let's start to take it on today's journey. In this journey, we're going to deal with this very favorite topic, which we have been dealing with it for a journey. Known to which is more than known. A journey from unknown to which is more than known. In which there are things known, there are things unknown. And it is between this known and the unknown is the door of who am I? Who is this I which we keep talking about? And we have been dealing with it And we say, I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm not this name, I'm not this form, I'm not this function. But it's still, we say, after all, but when I pinch it, it pains, no? Now, how can I suddenly disassociate and say just because it is written down there, and how do I understand it? Towards this understanding, Advaita Vedanta takes us to the self-inquiry. And we have been talking often that why is it necessary all the 4 yogas? And all the 4 yogas are here. I'm just taking out a book. All the 4 yogas. Why is it necessary? We could easily just do with bhakti or just do with Raja Yoga, like we do Kriya Yoga, or just do with Karma Yoga, or just do with Jnana Yoga. Why is it necessary all 4 yogas? And it has been right from the ancient time, Gaudapada, Govindapada, Shankaracharya, and subsequently. When I was reflecting on Shankaracharya, I was just thinking, just imagine, at the age of 32, many of you are of that age. I was reflecting when I was 32. Just think, he left his body and what he has done, research and written down, his Shankaracharya's Karika, his Bhashya, and his commentary, his slokas, his written down songs on every conceivable 108 Upanishads, out of which he has chosen 12 of them, specially written on them, Bhashya and Karika. Unbelievable. And this is the rich heritage of India. Vivekananda is talking about it on the book, Incredible India, Eternally Talented India. Let us not forget the womanhood of the mothers of Savitri, Sita, Damayanti of this country. Let us not forget the yogis who we worship is the Shiva, the ultimate, is detached, is so-called, is the husband of Mother Kali, Uma, Parvati, Gauri. This is our heritage. India never went for wealth. India yet became the richest country in the world. In Bhagavad Gita, God talks to Arjuna, written by Paramahansa Yogananda, his reflection. In chapter 2, verse 31, page 246, second para, it is quoted, the reflection by the editor, reflecting it onto the Paramahansa Yoganandas. At the time, India was conquered by the Western colonial power. I'm quoting it from there. At the time, India was conquered by the Western colonial power. Says J.T. Sunderland, a famous philosopher and a world religion specialist, that India was the richest country in the world. The Hindus of this country had created every kind of creation of man's mind, brain, and hand. Man's mind, brain, and hand was already created in India. India was the center of the Silk Route from west to east is the center, and the trading took place. And despite that detachment from the wealth, just imagine, dear devotees, that detachment from wanting to raid other countries and capture more wealth, like starting from Alexander the Great to the Mughal Brigade, Tamilong, Genghis Khan, Babur, Akbar, Humayun, Aurangzeb, everybody came down and attacked India. Came the Portuguese, came the Zoroastrians, the Persians, the French, the British. Have you ever realized why did everybody come to India? Why did Queen Victoria in 1832, sent Lord Macaulay to India and said, I want to rule that country, richest country in the world. And Lord Macaulay went down And 2nd of February in 1835, he gave a talk to Her Majesty that you'll be amazed. I am amazed when I read more and more and discover from the National Archives of India that India cannot be ruled. Can you imagine? 1832, 1835 is the statement. After spending, Lord Macaulay, 15 months in India. I don't know if you're aware, many call Lord Macaulay as father of India's legal and India's education. He is not, but he did transform the India's education from our Sanskrit, which was the vehicle of India's knowledge, the wisdom, a connection between men like you and me and the woman, through the Upanishads, through the Bhagavad Gita, through the Brahma Sutra, through the 4 Vedas, was delinked because Sanskrit was taken away and it was spread that English is the language. And you and I took great pride learning English language. What are we saying today, right now? You must be very good in English language. Be good in German and French. Be good in IT language. Be good in robotics language. Be good in design technology. Be good, can we also a little bit in Sanskrit language? Take it on and discover this. You know, the more I'm discovering how excited I'm getting, and I now realize today why Vivekananda talked about. He had said, the mission of my life can be summarized in 2 sentences. One is preaching to the mankind the inner divinity in every man and woman. In every man and woman, not the rich, not the kings and the emperors, not the sages and the pandits, not leaving behind the pariahs and the beggars, but everyone, not leaving the woman behind. And that is why in the Vedic time, you'll have heard about great names of the lady sages who used to defeat even the giants of the sages with their knowledge and the wisdom. This is why Vivekananda said, first sentence, preach into the mankind their inner divinity, the knowledge, the wisdom of the inner divinity. And second part is manifest it in every walk of life. Spread it. Whatever you're doing, do that. And imagine this Vedanta, Vivekananda was the first yogi. And it was given in New York Times that the yoga with which the America is today, proudly $1 billion industry going around today, mindfulness meditation and transcendental meditation. Mahesh Yogi started that. That $1 billion is the father of that is Swami Vivekananda. Was given 1839, 11th of September. Now, preach into the mankind their inner divinity, the vision, and spread it to every walk of life. And subsequently in Mandaka Upanishad and 8th and 9th Sutra, it is going ahead and talking about that you and I must have been really done great work in our past life to be associated, even if it is late as now. We are very lucky. And none of this knowledge, your body will go away. It's not permanent. Your age will keep increasing. And you will, remember, Jayate, Asti, Vartate, Viparit Nakshate, Aparit Nakshate, and Nashate. We are born, we sustain, we grow, and then we go into the Middle Ages and start to deteriorate, and we fade away into death. Body will go, name and form will go. But this wisdom of the knowledge, which is there in our Sukshma Sharira. We have three Shariras: physical body, Annamaya Kosha, and then we have Mano, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankar. That Sukshma Sharira. Shankaracharya is very famous. That bodies you and I will get as per Vedanta, many, thousands, lakhs of them, depending on our journey. But the Sukshma Sharira is only one. And that consciousness is eternal, is shared with all of us, one consciousness in everyone. And this is what we have been delving into it, that separatedness. When you say, I am this body and the name and the form, you and I get separated from each other, which is called samsara, which samsara is the cause of suffering. What is the cause of suffering then? Mind brings us separate. And that's how we dealt earlier. How do we attain that no mind state? No mind state is everybody is one. You realize, I'm not a little wave or a big wave or a tsunami wave. I'm not a bubble or a froth. I'm not the ocean. I'm not the puddle on the road. I'm not the rainwater. I am water. And every wave, every ocean, every river has water. Yeah, some may be a little salty and some may be a little sweet. That's the property of the water. Water remains same. Either in vapor form or a moisture form or a content water form, water is water. Consciousness is consciousness. It may be in a demon, consciousness is still there. It may be in the tiger. It may be in the table. It may be in the computer. It may be in the snake or the giant elephant or the dinosaurs. One consciousness all alone. This is what is the understanding you and I do it. How do we go ahead and do? When we go ahead and set that self-inquiry, there are problems. We have identified ourselves with the things which are not truly ourselves. And this mind-body thing, the principal method of our self-inquiry, to reach that true self-awareness within us, that we are aware of, the question comes in, what am I aware of? I'm aware of this clock. I'm aware of this book. So what is the book and the clock? It's an object. Anything we are aware of is an object. That means what? The moment we become aware of the self, that means self is an object? No. And this is our beginning part of today's journey. Self, though we have been delving with it, and all of you are champion Vedantists now, self can never be an object. Self is subject, knower, drashta. Object is drishya. Reflecting back, the organ of the vision is one, but the objects all around, the organ of the vision and the object, they are different. Mandukya Upanishad, drishya and drashta are separate. I, the organ of vision, and what we see, seer and seen are different. One. Two, seer is one, seen are many. And three, seer more or less remains constant, seen keeps on changing. Want your house change in just a few minutes, 3 hours time? People will shift, things will come, and seasons change and the celebrations come. Scene keeps changing, but the seer remains constant. And this is the essence of the consciousness. Body changes, mind changes, Sukshma Sharira keeps on getting energized and learn it with more and more and wisdom and Vedantic practices or other religious practices. Universal religion takes us through the religious practices, be that whatever. But why are we so fond of the yoga with Jnana Yoga? is that we just come to it, that self-awareness does not become an object. I don't become, the moment I become aware of myself, the self doesn't become an object. Self is always a subject. I only come to know about it. And little more detail on this. Does it mean that the self will remain unknown? No, it is more than known, because we are experiencing it every moment of our life. So there was a question which came to me, that if we cannot experience self as that self, that means self cannot be seen as an object. What happens in yours and my world today, more and more because of the westernized influence of our way of life and dealing, we like to look at everything as an object. After all, what is science? Look at the definition of science. Proving truth outside of you. And what is spirituality? Spirituality is the highest science of proving truth within you. Outside of you is the physical science, within you is the spiritual science. Now, with this journey, we are taking on to self, known or unknown. It is more than known. Vivekananda's telling, it is more than known. Because, see, the moment we know it, we become it. It's like the rope and the snake. The rope, when it became a snake, was an ignorance, an error, Vranti darshan, Vranti, error. So we couldn't make out the rope to be the rope. We thought it was a snake. What cut the illusion, the Vranti, the error? The knowledge, the light of knowledge thrown onto the rope, the snake vanished. Did we cut the snake with a sword? Did we shoot it with a gun? No. It was just the sword of knowledge took away that darkness of illusion and brought to us that this world, this body, I'm aware of because of the consciousness. And that self-awareness of the world around cannot happen until and unless the consciousness works through the reflective consciousness. And something interesting will come in through this 8th and 9th chapter. What is this ego? Why is it so important? And you and I think everything is, I'm all the time, I have this ego. And people say, no, I have no ego. No, the moment you say, I have no ego, I is already ego. The moment I say, my name, I am this, I am that, I do this, this is what I have done, this is what I have read, this is what I have understood. I'm dealing continuously with ego. Where does it come from? The function of mind with reflective consciousness. So, not knowing is generally the usual sense of knowledge, and in which is what we are doing, is the consciousness reflecting onto the mind and creating something called self-awareness, reflective consciousness. That reflective consciousness becomes with the mind as ego. And you know something strange, beautiful knowledge I came across first time today, that ego never dies. When you get enlightened, what becomes enlightened? The mind becomes enlightened, the ego gets enlightened, the body gets enlightened. No, it is that I, which is that supreme consciousness, which is me, which gets, understand this, it's very powerful, which gets liberated from the ignorance of I is the body, the mind, the ego. In other words, the supreme consciousness which was always there because of the reflective consciousness, which through the mind goes to every part from the tip of the nail to the skin to the tip part of the body, my body. And you notice just beyond the skin, everything else is you or that and not this. My consciousness is only limited to the skin, my awareness. I'm aware here. The moment outside the body, it is out. But in the self-consciousness, through the mind, gives this sense of I, which is the small I, to the body. And we say, this is mine. I am this. I am Robbin Ghosh. But the true, which is the I, which has got no name, no form, it gets freed from this small I called liberation. Now, I does not die, that small I. Ego continues, mind continues. You get liberated. When does the body, what happens to the body? We just come to it. We will touch upon it as it comes to the body of this world, and the objects of the awareness of it comes from karma. We'll get a little more detail on the next few slides. That karma that you and I have done in the past life, good karma, bad karma. Good karma gives us a good body, bad karma gives us a not so good body. And our intention through good karma, continuously to change that good karma to better karma, bad karma to good karma, and have a better body for the future or in this life itself. Change. So, mano, buddhi, intellect, to study, then etc. We increase that. Memory, chit, that Shankaracharya is saying. It starts off with that, no? Mano, buddhi, chitta, ahankar, na aham. And then he goes on to say, Chidananda Rupoham, Shivoham, Shivoham. This Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupoham is the supreme consciousness, which is detached, which is not at all attached. But we have forgotten about it. Why? Vrantijan, error. We think it's a snake. It's that light of wisdom will take it away from us. So we are not our physical body, which is an object, which are not our mind, which are not our mental body or intellect. So, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Jnanamaya Kosha, we are none of them. They are object. The supreme consciousness, Chidananda, that alone is I. The other eyes have been created. Understand it, very simple. Consciousness, from there, the mind has been illuminated with the consciousness, which is called reflective consciousness or awareness. So you are aware, so you can hear me, see me, deal with things of the world, learn, do, act, have relationship. And the body keeps on growing, and then the body goes away and dies. But that Sukshma Sharira, Mano, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankar does not die. It, based on our karma, continues to transcend from one body to the other as per Vedanta. Some religions do not believe in rebirth, but they believe in life after birth. There is a life after birth, even Christianity and Islam and things like that. They call it Qayamat Day or life after death, and kingdom of heaven. But they do not believe in another body. But Vedanta and Hinduism, etc., talks about particularly, so does Buddhism and Jainism and things like that. Now, we are going into, when we are looking for our true self, the true self is not an object, it is an awareness. And that awareness is actually gets lodged with the body and becomes self-awareness. And it is not, though it is because of the light of the consciousness, knowledge and the wisdom of the consciousness, but it retains separatedness as ego. Got it? With the mind, the self-awareness, self-reflection becomes the ego, and which never dies. But when I get liberated, when you and I would get liberated, we become aware and get freedom from that ego. Strange, no? From the light of the consciousness falls on the mind, gives life to the mind. Mind through the brain and the senses sees the world and spreads the awareness to every part of the body. That's how we know. We touch and we feel and we hear, and it stays now separated from Supreme Consciousness as ego, which is called the self, the reflective I. And when this self-consciousness, through the knowledge, come to know that this is not me, and that is where it becomes self is more than known. The true self with the big S. The small self continues. So it is like, if you look at it, this clock, this book. What is it? What is the clock? Clock is light falling on the clock, reflects onto our eye, and through the lens, it gives an image and goes through the brain neurons, makes a synapses, creates a memory, recollects it. I'm not an Adivasi or a wild guy or an animal. I am aware of this clock and I recognize to be a clock. So what is it? Clock is a light, mic is a light, or a cloth is light. The same, that light illuminating us, the world around us, the mountain, the dolphin, the dogs, and everything else goes on. So the consciousness is there in every experience, which is called the reflective consciousness. Every knowledge and in every object. But it happens because the object becomes known as enlightened. So, rope cannot be chased away or shown away with a book and arrow. There is a little spelling error here. It is only to be moved or cut through by the knowledge. Only knowledge can separate that I-ness, the body and the mind and the name and the form. And this is why we have been guided through the divine gurus and the God and the divine mother to know more about Vedanta, as well as practice all the 4 yogas. Most importantly, Kriya Yoga, with our essential, with the Mahavatar Babaji, Paramahansa Yogananda, Teshwar Giri Lahiri Matai, couple it with the universal knowledge of the Vedanta of ancient thousands of years. So now you understood what is the relationship of my body with my mind and with my consciousness. So going into that, the reflective consciousness and the consciousness with the mind, with the body, with the 3 eyes, no? Body eye, mind eye, and the consciousness eye, the supreme consciousness, the big eye. So these 3 things are given in the Mandukya Upanishad, 8th and the 9th verse, is giving that feeling of the I-ness. What is it? What is the relationship? What is the relationship of I with mind, I with body, and I with supreme consciousness? This I is the ego I. So what is it? It goes ahead and says, Sahajan, Karmajan, Vrantijan. Now, what is the relationship of this I? Sahajan, like a mirror. Look at a mirror. I see my face in the mirror. That mirror is the mind. And I see the reflection of that I. That is Sahajan. Meaning, anytime there's a mirror, my face will shine. my face will show reflection. It's sahajan, natural. And now understand our earlier discussion. It depends on the state of our mind, of the state of the suffering, state of the samsara. If samsara is happy, joyful, blissful, my mind is calm, quiet, peaceful. If mind is troubled and disturbed, then the samsara is troubled and disturbed and quarrels and fights and etc. going on. So where is the fault? Fault is with my mind. And this is why Holy Mother Sharada says, Onner dosh dekhbena. Don't look at faults of others. Look at your own errors and fault and correct it. So samsara comes from separatedness. With a no mind state, there is no samsara. Shant man mein bhala sansar kisne dekha hai. Remember the Himalayan yogi statement. Now, in sahajan, mirror, as long as if the mirror is cracked, mind is cracked, my reflection is cracked. I see myself as cracked. Dirty, I see myself dirty. So the mind is only telling me, I'm okay, I'm not okay. And now comes that karmajan. Karma, because of the prarabdha karma, gives us this body. So that I is the body, which is what we are so proud of, and feeding special gluten-free diet and exercise and etc., is because of our prarabdha karma. And when the prarabdha karma finishes, our body dies. I came to know for the first time today. So the moment you and I suddenly start to say, I don't know if you've noticed, people when they're going to die, they come to know. I've been seeing it happening. And they start to say something, I don't feel like eating. They stop eating. And you and I are trying to force them to eat, no, thoda sa khao, eat something, come on. And they don't really like eating. They know now. What does that mean? Prarabdha karma is finishing of whatever they earned prarabdha karma. And the karma of this life and the prarabdha karma now would create good karma of this life, plus the earlier, whatever was there, prarabdha karma is finished. But this good karma and bad karma will create my new body. I'll be born. Generally, they say that once you're born a human, you've been blessed. You will continue to, but it's not compulsory. If I become very bad, I may be born as something else. And there is, I have shared with you all some time back, there is a Rishi Bharadarajan. This is a very famous story where in the missions and the ashramas, before they get the monkhood, they're given this story that this Rishi became very fond of, near enlightenment, became very fond of a deer. That deer, somebody had shot it and he healed the deer. The deer became his life partner. He used to sleep with him, eat with the deer. And it is said that he became so attached to the deer that he was reborn after his body died as a deer. This is a story told in the ashramas to be careful about that attachment. Now, so prarabdha karma gives us the body, and comes then what is the relationship with the true I, the big self, and this I feeling. And it goes ahead in a very powerful statement. He says, none, nothing. It's Vrantijan. We are not separate. And this is what we keep on saying, Aham Brahmasmi. I am Atman Brahman. I am that one. And how do I get to that one? Through the yogic practices, through the bhakti, through the good karma, and through jnana yoga. Cut that with the light of the sword of the light. Cut the snake away. You don't have to shoot it down, cut it with a sword, but the light of the knowledge, throw it to see it's only a rope. So it is that ego which doesn't get the freedom. When we get freedom, when we become aware of who we truly are, we know it. It is, we get the freedom, I get the freedom from the ego. Ego continues. I will continue as an enlightened master like Paramahansa Ramakrishna or the great masters that you know, Ramana Maharshi, etc., Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Swami Vivekananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, Yukteswar Giri, Lahiri Mahasaya, Babaji. They continue to live in that same body, in the name and the form. But they might be saying most of the time, this body. They don't say I. And they know that everyone and this self is one consciousness. And that's how they are benign love, tons of love and affection towards everybody. Nobody is separate. Their bodies are separate, their karma is separate, name and form is separate, gender is separate, but true I is one consciousness. This is, so only knowledge can separate from that I. Mano buddhi chitta ahankar na aham, which you are reading. So it is not the ego which will get the freedom. It is that get the freedom from the ego and you will recognize it. Now, imagine this has been explained as a red hot iron. Imagine a red hot iron ball. You take the ball, put it into the fire. Remember intrinsic qualities and borrowed quality? The truth and lies, which we had talked about earlier. Now the iron ball in the fire becomes red hot. And you take it out now, like what you're seeing over here. This is the red hot iron. When you take it out, the iron ball retains its shape and the name and the form. The weight of the iron remains that of the iron. But the heat from the fire is of the fire. It's borrowed from the fire. And the color red is also borrowed from the fire. Fire is intrinsic. You take the fire to, North Pole or South Pole, anywhere fire will remain. Inside a refrigerator also fire will burn as fire. But the ball, red hot iron ball, before that was the iron. It was not having the heat. It is now borrowed it from the fire. And it is like, recollect easy example, vegetables were lying inside the fridge, cold. I take it out, wash it, I put it into hot oil and hot water and cook it. Vegetable is cooked. Now it is hot vegetable, but its intrinsic quality is not heat. So it becomes cold. And you say, no, why have you given me cold food? Now, the heat does not belong to the water, does not belong to the pan. It belongs to the fire. The fire gives the heat to the pan, to the water, to the vegetable. The fire is intrinsic to the borrow. So the consciousness is intrinsic consciousness. Reflective consciousness is borrowed from the consciousness. And the mind and the body get that borrowed quality. And this is how we are going ahead. Once we realize this consciousness is there in every object, we will find it in every knowledge, every wisdom, and we find that oneness. The Kena Upanishad is telling down that in every episode of knowledge, in seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, thinking, the same consciousness is shining everywhere. In other words, what does it mean? If you and I are unconscious, I can't learn anything, do anything. If I'm in coma, whole world vanishes for me, isn't it? It just vanishes. The world. I am, though physically alive, I'm in coma. I've been kept alive. Body is kept alive, but the world vanishes. This is what Kena Upanishad is saying. So this consciousness is Swaprakasha. Like the vision of I, it sees, but it cannot see itself. I cannot see itself. But the eye is the organ of the vision. This Self-luminous Swaprakasha is the characteristic of the consciousness. It's seeing everything. Whatever we say, organ of the vision reveals it, and through the brain and the mind, through the self-reflection, we come to realize that this is a clock, this is a book. So in all kind of knowledge, consciousness is self-revealed. And dualists see God in everything, God in everyone. That is how the God in the stone, God in the image, that is Dvaitavada. And Advaita knows it to be there in everything. When self-realization comes, so it will know that these are objects, this body is an object. That is why they say this body, and they will also realize the self-luminous nature of the true consciousness, and it will be revealed to them. They will know it. So you call enlightened. Atma buddhya tvameva aham. This is what Hanumanji told Rama, no? Deha buddhya tadam dasoham. Jiva buddhya. When I look at myself as sentient being, you and I are friend. And Atma buddhya, when I know I am myself to be consciousness, we are one. So the freedom, according to Kena Upanishad, I'll read it out, in every cognition and every consciousness reveals itself when you realize the presence of consciousness in everything, in every self, and your real self. This is called take us from death to immortality. You become immortal. And Ashtavakra Gita is talking yatra tatra sarvatra. Everywhere. You are then everywhere. And the yogic power grants you. Larimasa, you read, he was there taking Gita session, also were in Dasashramit Ghat waiting for Babaji and sister to come in. You are then really free from everything. Your condition is not locked in now anywhere. So the path towards detachment, Sri Ramakrishna talked about, as you move towards the east, as we are taking this journey towards Vedanta, through the Kriya Yoga and the Vedanta, the more we proceed, the west falls behind. As I am taking the journey from this physical world towards the enlightenment, the physical world will go behind, more and more behind. West will fall behind. A truly enlightened people don't have to run to the monk to become a monk in the Himalayas. Truly aware, knowledgeable, not awakened as yet, not enlightened, but knows, I don't have to run there. Where am I going to run to? Where am I? It is within me only. It is with my wife, my husband, my parent, my children, my people, my colleague, my company. While being there, this is what Vivekananda said. Preach into the mankind the wisdom, the divinity within, and manifest it in every walk of life. He didn't say, know about it in every walk of life. He said, manifest it, meaning bring it into reality. So how do you see now a poor guy who is wanting something? You give them that wisdom. And look at them. All the waves are one water. The ocean is one water. If I take away the water from the wave vanishes. I can't take away. I can take away water from this glass. This glass will stay, water will be separate, glass will be separate, but not from the wave, not from the ocean, not from the dirty puddle on the road. Remember the example? Light falling on dirty something on the road, it does not get dirty. Light falling onto a pitcher of wine or beer doesn't get drunk. Light falling onto a holy river doesn't become holy. Light is holy. The yours and my true nature We are. And this is what it means. West gets left behind and you continue to journey. You don't have to leave something behind. You have to just move towards the right goal. And don't have to quarrel with material goals. Only thing, catch hold of something higher while being in the material world. Continue to respect. Consciousness is there too. Only thing, after doing the jharu, don't throw the broom away. Consciousness in the broom too. Or that dirty clothes that you use as the pocha or your used vest, just lump it up and jump it, or the shoes, throw it around. Consciousness is there too. So respect consciousness, everything. Then the concerns of the materialism goes away from our daily lives and you see divinity in everything. The path towards detachment, always move positively, have rules and simple discipline, hold on to purity and the truth, and automatically you will travel towards similar realization and the God. More you do the studies, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, reflection, ask question. This is why I keep requesting. Think, ask question. The more questions you ask, the more clarity comes in within us. And he says, Paramahansa Ramakrishna says, Ishware Anurag, Vishoye Virag. Meaning, automatically dispassion comes towards the material world. I often hear some of you enlightened one that I'm not really attached to my things anymore. This is what it happens. This is what I keep hearing, talking to you all. And Ishwara Anurag, that is that love for God comes in. So this is, you understood the moksha is the freedom, spiritual and the liberation. The cycle on the birth and rebirth, once you liberate it, is in your choice. Before that, you have to be born again and again to fulfill the completion of the prarabdha karma. Till the time we have one attachment left, prarabdha karma will continue to hound us. So this is why great masters say renunciation, renunciation, renunciation. This is what I was telling you on the Thursday session, that if you say Gita very rapidly, it is that tyag. Gita, 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 it becomes tyagi, 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 tyagi. It is a renunciation, renunciation. And renunciation from what? Duksha nivritti, ananda prapti. Beautiful. So Vedantic meditation, let's get on to it. We have done pretty close to an hour session. Let's do about 15 minutes of Vedantic meditation, shall we? Concentration doesn't mean frown. Doesn't mean a gentle smile in the face, expecting to see the divinity, the divine light. That divine light is everywhere, not that artificial light. That artificial light, this computer, that mobile, that air condition, they were all lying in the store and they didn't do its work, what it is doing now. But it has been connected with the electricity. The one electricity is enlightening different activities like light giving light, computer doing computer work, mobile doing mobile work, air condition doing air condition work, fan is doing fans work. But one electricity, one consciousness in every object is working through the different apparatus, which we realize through, as we talked about, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. We listen, we read. Mananam, we reflect, we read more, we ask questions, we think of it more, reflection more. And Nididhyasanam, Vedantic meditation, towards which, most important, sitting not rigidly, but sit straight. Shoulders square, shoulders pulled back, right over left, sitting on a chair or on the floor. On the floor is the best. Most of you do it, I know. One or two may have a little difficulty, but I have seen many of you devotees had the difficulty and made up the will and started sitting on the floor, and they're doing it for hours together now. Now, during this, first, we will pay attention to every part of the body, become aware of the body. And from the body, we will become aware of our breath. The scattered mind will be made to focus to the flow of the breath. Saasi Hanuman hai. The life of the sign of life is the sign of breathing. The moment I stop breathing, either I have attained samadhi, enlightenment, I don't need to breathe, I'm a detached, body continues to live, or my body is dead and I am gone. So that breath, pay attention and focus it to that breath, which we do in Hamsa. Remember, in Hamsa, the golden word is watch your breath. And then we do Omkar. Again, we are concentrating on the finest sound with the eyes closed, ears closed. We're not hearing anything. Special mudra. With that, we are hearing inner sound, that Pranava Dhvani, Omkar Dhvani within. And then we go into the Kriya of breathing and go into the meditation. So today in the meditative state, we will take on in which remember not to put your head down. Many people tendency to do that. For why? Why do they do it? It's very simple. We don't realize it. We don't realize it that how tired we are. Though you may have had a good sleep, but your body is tired, your mind is tired, your senses are tired. So when you hear something nice, and when you go into that meditative state, it is quite natural. Don't feel guilty of going off to sleep. It's okay. You'll go off to sleep, you'll wake up, and soon you will see, just like while playing cricket, you don't go off to sleep. And unless you and I have been a child, as a child while eating also we used to go off to sleep. While eating, you don't go off to sleep. Similarly, you will see that you will not go off to sleep because you become so aware, and that tendency to falling off to sleep and the head drooping away, it's okay. Slowly you will come up, in which essential ingredient, don't move. Tell yourself, I shall not move. Tell yourself, something will pain, something will itch, something will say, oh, my knee is paining, my ankle is paining. Hold still and say, shut up, Robbin Ghosh, no movement. Okay, let's start. Take 2 to 3 breaths, shoulders square, chin parallel to little above the horizon. Seeing the divine light between the eyebrow. Body straight. Imagine a bowl filled with water. How still do I have to hold the bowl so that the water doesn't spill? Similarly, hold steadfast that mind and the body, and those thoughts, etc., will automatically start to quieten down. Breathing in, breathing out, Sahaj. Watching my breath, following through the tip of the nostril, breathing out. Breathing in with the prayers to the Divine Mother, Krishna, Mahavatar Babaji, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Silently, Paramahansa Yogananda, Yukteswar, Girilari Masha, seeking their blessing Swami Vivekananda, Holy Mother, Paramahansa Ramakrishna, to hold our hand and guide us through, attain oneness with that supreme consciousness which is them and which is us. Breathing in, requesting prayers from the Divine Mother, our Gurus, Shraddha, Bhakti, infinite awareness, not leaving God, Divine Mother, ever behind in every activity of the dawn. Day-to-day samsara, seeing God in everyone, seeking blessings to throw away the body sense as I breathe out. As I breathe out, I throw away the essence of the lies, mithya, alas, lethargy, duality, separatedness, and breathe in oneness with the consciousness, with the Divine Mother, with the God and Brahman, Babaji. Let's do it for a few minutes. Eyes are focused to the tip of the nose or between the eyebrow. Breathing in love, harmony, respect, God, Divine Mother, oneness, keeping their memory in every act of life, breathing out anger, jealousy, small-mindedness, finding fault with people, lies, lethargy, duality, throwing it out. Next step, Omkar meditation. Chanting of the Om, A and U are the Jagrat and the dream sleep state. And is the deep sleep state. As I chant, I am aware that it is the Turiya, the fourth state. Maya Sankhyanam Turiya, counting through waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, Turiya becomes one, number 4. But actually Turiya is the only one. The consciousness which is true, which is through the deep sleep, dream sleep, and awakened state, is reflecting. It is the consciousness, Chaitana, awareness, which makes me realize the waking world and do things, attain things. In the dream sleep state, I see my mind in the dream state. Body and the mind stays separate. I have another body, another mind. In the deep sleep state, through the Omkar, I see my body, mind, thoughts, process, everything goes away. I feel the absence of all experience, a blank wall, darkness. But beyond the blank wall and the darkness is the brilliance of light of consciousness, which shines on the waking state and the dream state and the deep sleep state. As we chant, oh, for a long time, it is A and U, transiting with my awareness from waking to dreaming, mentally, and the deep sleep state, and lighting up all 3 states through the awareness, light of consciousness. Let's begin. Silence. In the silence, I reflect, experience beyond the blankness of the deep sleep, the light of the consciousness. My whole body is glowing, the whole universe, everyone around me are glowing, everything around me. I visualize that aura, the consciousness, the urja. We do one more Omkar and then be silent. The suffering, the pain, the sickness, the disease is of the body, not of me, the consciousness. Again. Om. The aging, the changing, the disease, the pain, the suffering is of the body. The experiences through the dream is of another body, and the mind is only an experience of the mind. In the deep sleep state, I experience no experiences of the blankness. Again. The blankness, the darkness of no experience, I experience the blankness. I experience the lack of experience. And I experience the light, Turiya, beyond the no experience. I am that light, Jyoti, Jyoti, Suprabha. That light and me, the Divine Mother, Krishna, Babaji, Vishnu, Maheshwara, our Guru Devas, they all remain as one. Silence. In the silence, reflect only about the light and stillness. No movement. Become aware of your breath. Watch your breath. Become aware of every part of your body, from toe to the tip of the nail, to the skin, to your abdomen gently falling and rising, to the heart, to the whole shoulder and the body and the back, to the face, to the tip of the nose, to the third eye, to the aura around all of you, bright light. Take 3 long breaths. When you wish to open your eyes, send your prayers and blessings to everyone. May they be guided with the wisdom of our masters and the Divine Mother, Gurudeva Babaji, so that they are enlightened in this life alone. Their journey becomes smooth and free from obstacle. They attain every dream and wishes for their own and for their family. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. When you wish to open your eyes, open at your knee or at your own palm. Jai Guru. Good to be with you and be connected consciously. The screen and the earthly world separates us, but we are together. Does anybody have any question? Any doubts? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om. पूर्ण से पूर्ण के जन्म होता है. जब पूर्ण से लिया जाता है, पूर्ण ही रह जाता है. We are that Purna, Atman consciousness. The body can be separated. Mind can have strifes and struggles. And when we align ourselves with the consciousness, separatedness to the body and the mind goes away. Pains and suffering becomes, with the divine grace, much lesser. They don't vanish till we are enlightened, but they become much less. Jai Guru.